Can you beat Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped without breaking any boxes? Welcome back to the second video in my series where I try to save as many boxes from destruction as possible. To keep things simple, I define a box breaking as any time the box counter increases in value. If the counter goes up, a box has been broken. So, here are my rules for this run. I must collect all 25 crystals, one from each level. If I accidentally destroy a box that I think is avoidable, die and retry. You're allowed to use any masks the game gives you from dying repeatedly, and the levels will be completed in sequence, but I am allowed to reattempt them later on once I've got some power-ups. Just a quick disclaimer about this run. I am playing on the N-Sane trilogy on Xbox. There might be some mechanics or glitches that you remember from the PlayStation version, but they probably won't work on this version. Secondly, I want this run to be as natural as possible, so I'm going into this challenge blind without having watched anyone else's videos. With the rules out of the way, let's begin. Our first mission was Toad Village. The level is simple, and it was very easy to avoid boxes. Crash 3 introduces a new type of box that changes over time, and if you leave the box alone, it becomes a solid metal crate. Thankfully, this solid metal crate does not count towards the box total, so I can simply ignore these crates when I see them. From my last playthrough, I learned that bonus levels can be checkpoints for you once you touch them, so I'll be using bonus levels as checkpoints whenever I can. I made my way to the crystal, and we completed the level with no boxes. Up next is the level Under Pressure. Now this is our first underwater level. Most of the boxes and obstacles are quite easy to avoid. Eventually I made it to a section where there's some sort of underwater jet ski. Now on the jet ski I came across 6 boxes stacked on top of each other. I tried to use the jet ski to boost through, but it was quite destructive and broke 6 boxes. I wasn't happy with the result, so I fed myself to the shark and tried again. I figured out that if you swim downwards, you can avoid using the jet ski. From here, I made it to the wall of boxes and managed to get through, only destroying 4 boxes this time. It wasn't a perfect result, but I progressed through the level as normal. There were 2 more stacks of boxes, but these had very small gaps that Crash could just squeeze through if the vehicle was skipped. I grabbed the crystal and I finished the level with 4 boxes. After playing around, by breaking the top 2 leftmost boxes, I can angle Crash to break the top right box only, meaning only 3 boxes are destroyed. So I'm going to say 3 boxes is the count for this level. Up next was the Orient Express. For this level, all I have to do is run in a straight line and avoid the obstacles and the boxes. It took some practice trying to learn how to time my jumps right. When there was an option of up or down, I chose the path that had no boxes. I grabbed the crystal, and we finished the level with 0 boxes. Next up was Boneyard, and this is where the box counter gets really nasty. In this level you run away from a dinosaur. This dinosaur will destroy any boxes along the path except for checkpoint boxes. And by the end of the first chase, we had lost 12 boxes. I grabbed the crystal, and the second chase began. 4 more boxes were lost, and by the end of the chase, a disappointing 23 boxes were destroyed in total. Every single one of these boxes was on the dinosaur's path of destruction, so sadly, it couldn't be avoided. Next up was Making Waves. This is a wide open jet ski level, and the obstacles and boxes were quite easy to navigate. I picked up the crystal, carefully avoided some bombs, and the level was done. 0 boxes. It was time for our first boss fight with Tiny the Tiger. The fight's very straightforward, and I got my first power-up, which was a supercharged body slam. At the end of the game, I will go back through all the levels in which I hit boxes and try to use my superpowers to reduce the box count even further. Welcome to the second warp room. Next up was Gee Whiz. This level's quite similar to the first level, and all the boxes were easily avoidable. But there was an interesting dilemma. In this level, the frogs tend to explode themselves. I tried again, but the frogs were proving an issue. Eventually, I made it through the frogs with the nitro intact, and I touched the bonus platform to get a checkpoint. I made my way to the crystal, and another level done. 0 boxes. Next up was Hang 'em High. Most enemies were quite easy to avoid with the jump. There were 2 boxes on the monkey bar section that looked like an issue, but there's just enough room to sneak past them. I grabbed the crystal, and I made my way to the end with 0 boxes. The next level was Hog Ride. This is our first racing level, where you have to come first place to get the crystal. Now there's only a few boxes on this level, and they were very easy to miss. So, I made it to the end, first place, got the crystal with 0 boxes. Do you know what time it is? It's tomb time. For the most part, it was a very easy level to get through and there were no nasty boxes. So, getting 0 boxes was really easy. Level 10 was Midnight Run. Now this is another tiger riding level. I found this significantly harder than the previous tiger level, as the box placement is meant to guide you away from the enemies, but by avoiding the boxes I was frequently hitting the enemies. After a few game overs, I managed to get the crystal, and I finished the level with 0 boxes. Our next boss fight was Dingodile. After a few mistakes, I beat him, and I got the next power up, the double jump, which will be very helpful for later levels. It was time for the third warp room. Our first level was Dynamite. The first section of this level was very straightforward. You can ride a dinosaur in this level, but it was more of a hindrance than a help. I decided to make my way through the level on foot, using a double jump to get over some lava pits. Up ahead there was a stack of boxes 5 high, but with a careful double jump I was able to get over and grab the crystal. A few more precise smaller jumps were needed, and then the dinosaur chase started. By level's end, 14 boxes had been crushed by the dinosaur. There was nothing I could do about this now, but I had an idea in the back of my mind that I'll try later on. But for now, we're going to say 14 boxes. We're going to be in deep trouble with this next level. Right near the start of the level is a wall of TNT boxes that block the way forward. I tried swimming over or around these boxes, but they must be blown up to progress. Afterwards is a stack of 4 boxes, and unfortunately they all broke. Now I know I could do better, but I wanted to see what was ahead in the rest of the level. So I kept swimming and I grabbed the crystal. The rest of the level was pretty manageable, but there was one tight section involving nitros, and I accidentally clipped the last box, so I ended the level with 8 boxes lost. But I know I can do better, so after retrying, I blew up my vehicle and made it through the nitros by swimming, reducing it to 7 boxes. After practicing even more, I was able to get the box count down to 6 with a precise spin at the start. So, I'm going to say that 6 boxes is the minimum required for this level. Up next was High Time. Apart from making some poor choices with my timing, the level's not too bad. But there's a really interesting obstacle on the monkey bars. By spinning the flying carpet enemy, a box gets destroyed. I retried, and by moving Crash as close to the foreground as possible, you can walk past the enemies on the monkey bar. I got right up to the boxes, but it was impossible to get around them as they blocked all gaps at the front and the back of the boxes. I still had to break 1 box to get through. After this, there's a wall of boxes. Now I was worried about this, as I can't jump over the boxes without touching the monkey bars. But with just the right angle, you can force Crash into a tiny gap in the foreground and shimmy your way through. I snagged the crystal, and I finished the level with that single box as a casualty. But I have a surprise for you later on. I'm gonna find a way to skip that box even if it kills me. Up next was Road Crash. Now, although it's similar to the last bike level, the boxes have been placed in sneaky spots that make them easier to hit by accident. Eventually, I was getting better at avoiding these sneaky boxes, but I was too slow and I lost the race. I got closer and closer and I had a good attempt going, but my angle was off and I clipped 4 boxes on the speed boost. I ended up finishing the race, but 4 boxes were hit. After a retry, I was able to get first place with 0 boxes, so another level down. Our last level for this warp room is Double Header. Again, the medieval levels were quite easy to navigate. I saw more of those sus frogs ahead, so I deleted them to be safe. I made it to the crystal, and after some precise jumps, the level was done. 0 boxes. Our next boss was Entropy. After a short battle, I unlocked the Death Tornado Spin, which will be another useful tool for later. Onwards to the next warp room. It was time for Sphinxinator. The level started off fairly tame, but to my dismay, there were some nitros in the way of an oncoming pillar. There is currently no way to stop the henchman from pulling this lever, so 2 boxes were lost. Up ahead, another nitro died because of the pillar. I made it through the rest of the level with 3 boxes as casualties, but when I got towards the end, there was 4 boxes on the box count. I tried again, but the box counter was randomly increasing. What is happening? After some investigating, I found the murderer. I retried, I stopped a murder, and finished the level with 3 boxes. Next up was Bye Bye Blimps. If you just take out the blimps as fast as possible and just watch your aim, it's incredibly easy to miss all the boxes on this level. 0 boxes were harmed. They say that dead boxes tell no tales. This level was quite similar to the first jet ski level. I hugged the walls as much as possible. I slowed down when I needed to be careful. I grabbed the crystal. And the level was done. 0 boxes. Next up was Future Frenzy. Most of the level was pretty straightforward, and I made it to section 2 with no issues. Most obstacles could be double jumped over, but I made a mistake and I didn't go far enough right on the spin platform, so I blew up all the TNT right before the bonus checkpoint 2. I tried again, I played it safe, and I jumped through the gaps of the boxes. But a questionable hitbox on an enemy gave me a game over. So, I had to do it all again. I made it further on the next attempt, but I was too cautious, and I undershot my Death Tornado, which caused another game over. Eventually, I crossed the gap, and got through the level with 0 boxes. It was time for Tomb Wader. The level wasn't too bad. It just involves a lot of patience with the water levels constantly rising. I got the crystal. I used some acrobatic skills to avoid obstacles. And I finished with 0 boxes. The next boss fight was Engine. And after a long mech battle, he was defeated. And I got the bazooka. We were in the final warp room now. Time goes fast. It's here today, it's gone tomorrow. This level had some more tricky challenges I needed to overcome. First of all, this robot shoots missiles that can break the box that's behind me. I tried skid jumping around the enemy, but the missile still connected and broke a box. A consistent method I found was to use a pity mask and then get hit by the missile to stop it from hitting the box. Although, if the RNG is good enough, sometimes the missiles can miss randomly. I grabbed the crystal. Further ahead, I broke a box with a bad jump and had to do it all again. I learned from my mistake, but I came across an annoying placement of boxes. My crouched jump kept breaking the top box. I tried again from further back, but I had no luck. I tried a normal jump, but it didn't work. What could I use to get around these boxes? On respawning, I noticed that there was an enemy close by. Eventually, using the enemy as a springboard, I was able to double jump and death tornado spin across the boxes. And I finished the level with 0 boxes. Orange asphalt was next. Like last time, to save time, I focused on getting the crystal with a few box casualties. But then I redid the level and got first place with no boxes. Have I told you about my flaming passion for saving boxes? The bazooka made this level much more manageable, and I shot my way through lots of enemies. I got the crystal. Now, I thought it would be interesting to try the death route while I was here. Why not? With some careful jumps, I avoided the enemies, picked up the green gem, and I finished the level with 0 boxes. Up next was Mad Bombers. I used the same plan as last time, just attack the planes as fast as possible and don't shoot any balloons. And it worked. Finished the level with 0 boxes. The final level was Bug Light. There was a wall of boxes, but a crouch jump makes it over. As I progressed, my box count increased by 1. It turns out we had another murderer on our hands. He was a skilled assassin. He was very good at killing that box. But eventually I got the angle I needed and sniped him with the bazooka. It was an easy run to the crystal, and the level was done. 0 boxes. Up next was my fight against Cortex. After a few careful attacks, I had won. The dash shoes were mine. So, let's review our current standing. In total, there were 6 levels I could not avoid breaking boxes in. So, that was a total of 50 box casualties for this playthrough. But now that I have some power-ups, can we reduce this number? I spent a long time practicing under pressure and deep trouble. Now because we're underwater, many of the power-ups don't work. So, unless there's a very specific angle we can get to break only 2 boxes at the top, I don't think I can get this any lower. So what about Boneyard? Some people suggested in the last video that if you sprint fast enough in the boulder chase levels, you can actually outrun the boulder and the boxes don't break. I tried the same strategy here, trying to outrun the dinosaur with my dash shoes. But no matter how fast I ran, the dinosaur kept up and destroyed those boxes. So, reducing Boneyard's box count is not a possibility. What about Dynamite though? Now there is a yellow gem platform in this level that can only be activated by getting 10 relics and then getting the yellow gem in the secret warp room. It was hard to find 10 levels that you can get relics in without breaking boxes, and most of the vehicle levels require you to break boxes to freeze the time. I started off slow and got my first relic in the first level. Then I got 4 more, and then some more, and then finally I got a relic for running through Boneyard again. All of this was done without breaking any extra unnecessary boxes. With my 10 relics, I went to the secret warp room and I made my way to the alternate version of Hang 'em High. I dodged some enemies, got the yellow gem, and 0 boxes were broken. With the yellow gem, I could now use the gem platform in Dynamite. Now here's where my plan comes into effect. On the yellow gem route, during the dinosaur chase, 2 nitros will get broken by the dinosaur. But there's a secret exit we can take by being grabbed by the pterodactyl. which takes us to Oedipus Rex. There are no boxes in this level, and so I was able to finish both levels with only 2 boxes being broken. So, in my mind, I entered the level Dynamite. 2 boxes were broken. From there, I warped to another level. I finished that level with 0 boxes, and I made it back to the warp room. It was 1 round trip. Now you're welcome to disagree, but I'm going to count this. I'm going to reduce the box count for Dynamite from 14 down to 2 boxes. Now, I can finally tackle High Time. I said before that I will try getting past this 1 box even if it killed me. Now I was experimenting a lot trying to get past these boxes on the monkey bars without breaking any of them. So, I put a timeout on the box killing and I used a checkpoint just to practice my jumps. I tried jumping on top of the monkey bars and found that you can walk along some of the edges up top. There are many invisible walls, so you can't directly get to the ledge with the other boxes. I tried exploring some new angles and found that I could crawl around the top to a better position. I was getting closer, but there was an invisible wall that I kept hitting in the foreground of the boxes. After about an hour of just trying this jump, I came so close. I managed to get the right angle to avoid the invisible wall, but I spun too far and I broke a box. I was excited. This means it's theoretically possible to avoid the boxes on the monkey bars and land on that platform. It took another hour of just doing the exact same jumps, but eventually I was able to do this. I did it. I walked backwards and checked. Both boxes on the monkey bars were still there. It is possible to skip the monkey bar boxes. I spent some more time practicing, and I was able to get the jump again. Now remember, I did this while having a timeout and using a checkpoint box. It took 2 hours of practice and over 100 deaths just to land there twice. I'm not skilled enough to do this in one go from the very start to the very end without dying. But this proves in theory we can get 0 boxes on this level. So I'm going to reduce the box count to 0. So, 1 level left. Sphinxinator. Can we save those 3 nitros? Using the bazooka, I was able to snipe the henchman before he was able to pull the lever. 2 boxes saved. The next henchman was a little more cautious and he pulled the lever early on me. But after retrying, with a careful shot, I was finally able to get him. I remembered that there was a murderer on the loose, so I sniped him to be safe, and then I finished the level with 0 boxes. So, can you beat Crash Bandicoot 3 without breaking any boxes? Sadly no. But you can beat the game with only 34 box casualties, which is significantly lower than Crash 2. If someone is able to find a good angle on Under Pressure and Deep Trouble, it might be possible to get it down to 32, but with my skill level, 34 was the best I could do. Well, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your time. Just remember, this was a blind run, so there's a chance I missed something. So if I did, please let me know. Apart from that, hopefully I'll see you in another video.